The definition of pleasure, according to Google, is a feeling of happy satisfaction and enjoyment. But if you look closely at addictive behavior, 95% of the time isn't spent in happy satisfaction. Maybe 5% is. But what about the other 95%? I'm not claiming everything is an addiction. You can enjoy a video game, you can enjoy social media, you can enjoy a drink. This isn't about moral judgment, it's about the mechanism behind it. Think about the last time you reached for your phone, or opened an application, or reached for a substance. Did you genuinely feel happy before, during, or after? Was it pleasure, or was it simply a change? Often it's interruption. Pleasure is positive enjoyment. Relief is reduction of discomfort. Two different things. If addictive behavior were purely about pleasure, then as pleasure decreases from use, repetition should decrease because the thing is not as interesting as it once was. Pleasure cannot fully explain persistence when payoff declines. In the previous video, I explained that dopamine is not a reward chemical. It's a learning system. It encodes prediction. It reinforces what you pursue, what you repeat, what becomes automatic. Dopamine isn't intelligent and it doesn't fire randomly. It reinforces whatever reliably changes your internal state. That is where addiction begins and continues. Addiction is not primarily about liking something. It's about internal state regulation. Before doom scrolling, before a video game, before alcohol, or before junk food, there's usually a feeling. Boredom, restlessness, fatigue, stress, loneliness, or overwhelm. The addictive behavior that you engage in produces a shift in one of those states. So you have internal state, behavior, temporary shift, and reinforcement. The brain does not store the object, it stores the shift. Here's an example. When you reach for your phone, it's rarely about the phone itself. It's about restlessness, scroll, interruption, and the system learns the pattern. Cue, prediction of relief, action. Dopamine fires at the prediction, the stored value, not necessarily the content, not whether it's meaningful, not whether it's moral, just the difference between now and after. You don't need surprise anymore, you just seek reliability. Dopamine is concerned with contrast. How different is this from my current internal state? Quick shift. How fast does it change my internal state? Reliability. Does it work almost every time? Consistency. Is it accessible and repeatable? Many addictions do all of the above. The stronger these variables are, the stronger the loop becomes. Skydiving is intense but not easily accessible or repeatable. Mobile phone use is not intense, but it meets the criteria for reinforcing repetition. From a reinforcement perspective, the phone wins. You may choose intensity, but the system reinforces reliability.
Bored? I've got the perfect fix. Oh yeah? What's that? Chocolate! It's the ultimate cure! You're a genius!
And reliability outcompetes intensity when it comes to the issue of repetition. The brain remembers the promise more than the payoff. It encodes state change, not the sustained experience. The anticipation,
Wow, milk chocolate!
often feels stronger than the experience itself. As pleasure decreases over time, repetition can increase. If pleasure were the main driver, that would not happen. Reinforcement does not require euphoria. It only requires a detectable shift. How small? Very small. A slight reduction in boredom, a slight interruption of discomfort, or a brief change in stimulation. If a behavior reliably produces even a minor internal adjustment, the system can learn it. And once learned, the behavior does not need to feel amazing to persist. It only needs to remain reliable. The first time may feel intense. The 10th time feels normal. The 100th time feels necessary. Not because it feels better, but because it has become the default regulator. Addiction becomes obvious when behavior continues, even as satisfaction declines, even when the person would prefer not to rely on it. The internal state shift remains compelling. The loop continues. Pleasure can exist, moderation can exist, but addiction is not defined by the presence of pleasure. It is defined by the dominance of a learned regulation loop. When a behavior becomes the primary regulator of internal state, repetition strengthens. So it is a mechanical issue, not a moral issue. Reinforcement requires execution, cue, prediction, urge, and most importantly, motor output. When awareness occurs, one variable changes. The motor sequence becomes delayed. The cue fires, the prediction activates, and the urge appears, but the movement does not immediately follow. That delay matters.
No.
Because without execution, reinforcement weakens. The delay creates a window that we can use. But delay alone is unstable. Without a specific competing intention, the original behavior resumes. The system favors the most clearly defined action. Specificity strengthens alternatives, but vagueness does not compete effectively. Again, dopamine is not the problem. It is functioning efficiently. It reinforces what reliably changes your internal state. If a behavior can produce even a small, reliable change in your internal state, it can become automatic. That does not mean that you are weak. It means the system learned efficiently. And if the system learned through repetition, it also depends on execution, cue, prediction, urge, and action. Reinforcement requires the final step, action. The leverage point which can help us is not the object. It is the moment before execution. When you notice the internal state and delay the movement, the loop weakens. When you pair that delay with a specific alternative, a different loop strengthens. Not dramatically, just incrementally. Each interrupted execution reduces reinforcement. Each specific replacement compounds. Once you can see the sequence, you can interrupt it.